Have you ever felt that your friendship with someone was really one-sided? So today we're going to talk about why friendship is a two-way street.
Yes, and that everybody needs to know that.
Yes.
Or at least put it in their arsenal of things to understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were talking, you were saying that sometimes it's because they're narcissists, and so they don't think about the other person.
They have no empathy, right? They have no empathy. And, again, I think we discussed in a previous video about knowing what you want in a relationship, really knowing what your needs are. And they will change, and they will, and then you're going to allow other friends to go aside and move on to somebody new who appreciates what it is you're doing, and they're not tearing you down because they're jealous or because they.
And and you can. There are friends that you'll grow with.
Yeah.
They'll grow along too. But the ones that are stunted and they cannot handle that you're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to let them go. So what do we got first on the list?
Well, I thought I'd tell a few stories about friendships that I've experienced, and I think Crystal has a few stories of her own.
Don't we all? So, and we would love to hear yours, but here are some samples.
So for a few years now, I've been faithfully texting several of my friends on their birthdays, and they always respond with happy greetings like, "Oh, thank you, I love you," and all that stuff. But when my birthday rolls around, do I get a text? Do I get a happy birthday? No. So starting this year, those people will not be hearing from me again for their birthdays. I still love them. In fact, I've known one of them since I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
And but it's become abundantly clear to me that I'm the only one who truly cares in these relationships. And every time my birthday passes with no birthday greeting from them, it eats away at my sense of self. Because if people you think are your friends are don't care enough to say happy birthday, it's only natural to begin to wonder what it is about you that makes other people view you as disposable.
Yeah.
So my caveat from that would be, don't take your friends for granted.
Right. And I think I'm the one who mentioned to you, I think you're done reaching out to them then. There's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't make sense to
keep putting
put
myself
that energy out to that, and then nothing reciprocating, nothing coming back to fill you as well.
Yeah, and in fact, in one of our previous videos, we were saying, you kind of got to step back to see these things. And if it hadn't been for you saying that to me, I wouldn't have taken that step back. I would have just kept doing it because it's a habit. And that's another thing we said in a prior video. You got to develop new habits.
Yes. Yeah. So, new choices, new things to do. Right. So, yeah, along those lines, I don't know. I'm sure I have a story somewhere. I just can't muster it at this moment. But I'm trying to think. Well, I am on a journey to let friends go. Just let them go. I've been that person that always reaches out.
Oh, yeah.
Ta-da. I'm the one who always calls and says, "Hey, do you want to get together?" And they love hearing from you.
Oh, yeah. They're always happy.
Oh, yeah. It's like, "Oh, yeah, I want to get together with you.
I miss you. I love you.
Yeah. And I even one of my best friends in Minnesota, I told her, I said, nobody ever calls me. Nobody calls me. And I said, and you don't either. I told her, and she says, "You're right." She goes, "I don't call you." She goes, because some people are just made to do it and some aren't. And it drains those of us who have to be the responsible party to do it.
And that's the other thing and we've talked about this before too. If you think of that person, call them then.
Yeah.
Or text them then. Yeah. Right when you're thinking about them, to say, "Hey, was thinking about you. Hope you're doing well."
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. It doesn't take but 10 seconds of your time to do that.
Right.
So learn from that.
Go ahead. What's
All
next?
Right. So my second story. I had another friend years ago. I met her at work when I was temping, and this was in a law firm, and she made more money than I did. She made more money than I had ever even thought I could ever make. We used to go out to dinner from time to time. We didn't get separate checks, but we didn't split the check either. It was like we paid for what each of us ordered. But except she always underpaid a little bit, so I was always making up the difference. And I thought, I'm not a confrontational person, and to me, anytime I have to talk to somebody about anything that bothers me, that's a confrontation, and I don't want to do it, So I just kind of assumed she added it up wrong, and I just let it go until the day she confessed to me that, hey, I always enjoy our dinners out because I can always splurge a little bit knowing you're going to make up the difference.
Isn't that amazing?
That was our last dinner out.
Who does that?
So she called me a couple times afterwards wondering what she did that would cause me to stop being her friend.
And you didn't tell her?
I never answered her calls. I cut the time. And don't get me wrong. By nature, I am a generous person. I'm a loving person. But it's my choice, not somebody deciding for me that I'm going to buy this for them. In fact, I remember a girl in high school. Christmas was coming. I barely knew her, for one thing. We had a class together, and she says, "Oh, for Christmas, will you get me a latch hook kit?" I was like, no. So,
Oh, okay. I got some good ones on that. Yeah. I remember growing up with a gal that, where we lived, there was a pizza place that, you had a big round pizza, but it was cut in squares.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, you've got that center square, or squares. There's more than one in the center that's not with a crust or not the weird shape, or it's just a square. And it never, ever occurred to me, being the nice person, to grab the square out of the middle.
You would start at the edge.
You would start at the edge and maybe get a few pieces out, and then you'd have a square and you'd have an edge. But no, she took the one right out of the center. And nobody had taken a piece yet. So there was nothing open to that center. She just would reach and grab the best piece on the pizza. And she wasn't buying. So, hey, that did that too.
Maybe that's a lesson for us, too, is that what's stopping you from taking that center space?
I guess. I don't know. She also came up with a brilliant thing that, maybe I'd like to sell one of my chairs to her.
Oh, that was that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
What? And I never got back to her because I think I was so stunned that somebody would, it's not like I had chairs piled up in the garage somewhere and somebody wanted that. It's the chairs that I use and I've had for 30 years. Granted, you probably should get rid of them. But they're, really? Who would even suggest that, can I have your chair? Can I buy one of your chairs? What? I didn't, and then later she made the comment. She said, "Oh, by the way," she goes, "I texted you about your chairs. You never did get back to me."
Wonder why? But yeah, speaking of being the nice person and
Yeah,
stuff,
I know. I guess that was it.
Growing up with my older brother, whenever we'd get a chocolate bar to split, we'd break it in half. I always gave him the bigger piece.
I do that too. I do that too.
Because that's who we are.
We're
so loving and giving.
It's such a sad story.
Yeah. But hey, that's what I love about us.
We can appreciate each other because we both feel the same way about things, and we have friends who don't.
Yeah, and don't take advantage of your friends. That's the point that we're getting to here with this story.
Yeah.
Okay, now my third story. I had this friend that I called every Saturday night without fail. We would meet for lunch occasionally too. And most of our conversations were about things going on in her life and the problems that were happening and what could she do. And I was advising her and stuff. I would try to advise her. And finally, at some point, it entered my head, I'm the one that's always calling. I'm going to stop calling and see what happens. And she's never called me, ever, since.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
But yeah, make sure you spend an equal amount of time talking about each of your things that are going on in your life.
Talking about it, absolutely.
Then, otherwise it's all one-sided.
Well, and then it's all about you. And I'll tell you, I'm a talker, and I think I mentioned this to you, that I go with intention of, Crystal, don't talk.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to because people inevitably want me to talk. I'm a leader, and they think, oh, she's going to say something amazing. which I never do, but okay.
I didn't say that.
But I talk a lot, and so it's easier for me to go in saying, "Don't talk, Crystal. Just don't talk," because it'll inevitably
up
happen.
to-
It'll
yeah.
inevitably happen, and then I try to catch myself talking, going, "Okay, you need to stop this right now." But yeah, it's that, and she was, saying, "Oh no, don't tell yourself not to talk. Be yourself. Be who you are." Well, some of us can be a little overwhelming, like the gal who takes the center of the pizza and asks you to
but
sell
you're
your
not-
furniture.
You're not overwhelming.
Oh,
Well, my
I don't
nephew
know.
actually, my nephew emailed me the other night, and he said that sometimes he feels like he should be careful about what he says because otherwise people might not want to talk to him anymore if he said
Okay.
the wrong thing. And
Uh-huh.
I told him, no, be who you are.
That's true. Yeah,
Because your friends, if you say something and they're offended, either they'll let it go or they'll say,
Right,
"Hey, this
right,
offended me," and then
right.
you can go, "Oh, I didn't mean it that
Yeah,
way,"
right.
and you'll work it out.
Yeah.
And if they're not your friends, then who cares what they think anyway?
right. You can't. You cannot be all things to all people.
And God knows your heart. So
Yeah.
if you have good intentions,
Yeah.
God knows it, and so that's how that goes.
Right. Right.
But yeah, did you have another story about something?
No, I think those were good stories. I think that
Okay.
was because it's about. Oh, we're on this one now. Okay. Yeah, I had somebody accost me. I guess would be the
Big
big
word.
word. When I brought her a Christmas present, and chose that moment to tell me to get a life, that I was not paying enough attention to her.
Wasn't it something like, "For all you knew, I could have been dead," or something like that?
She didn't go that far, but yeah, I think that was the inference. Was that why wouldn't you have? She had surgery.
her. Yeah,
she
checked.
had surgery, and it was a very common surgery. I didn't think anything of it at the time, and she was going to be down for 12 weeks, and I thought, 12 weeks, really? I mean, this is a real common surgery, and 12 weeks, wow. Okay, and it did miff me a little bit. We were working together on a project, and she was there within that 12-week period, and she was saying, "Can you pick?" She was telling people, "Can you pick this up for me? Can you move that for me? Because I can't do it." And I thought, "What did you just tell them? I had surgery. I can't do stuff. What's the big deal?" But no, it's a secretive little thing, this control aspect, and it ticked me off. And I think she noticed it, and she texted me and she said, "Are you mad at me?" And I said, "No, absolutely not," because I was not. I was not angry with her. I was a little frustrated with just the way that was rolling and that she couldn't communicate. And then she tells me on Christmas, "Why didn't you reach out to me after I had surgery?" And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why I would have to begin with. Her whole family lives with her, all adults. It's not like she's alone over there, and we're hoping she's not laying dead on the floor somewhere, and nobody has reached out. So I was really, really confused. So if any of you have any clarity on that, I would appreciate it. But I tried to paraphrase and clarify back to her where I was coming from, because I was not appreciating that or understanding that. This is a good example of somebody who is very needy, and they are needy because their self-esteem is so low, and they feel that nobody cares about them. So, but again, it was all about her. Their identity comes from others. I would say with her, maybe not.
Oh.
She actually has her own identity, and she
she's
doesn't care about yours.
Okay, yeah.
That's the key. It's all about her identity, and she's needy. She wants this from you, but she doesn't. I'm very outspoken. If I want something from you, I'm just going to say, "Hey,
Can you do
well, like
this?"
I did with my girlfriend, and I told her, I said, "You never call me,"
Yeah.
and it's like, "Oh gosh, Crystal, you're right. I never call you." But we're good at our friendship is so strong that's fine. Oh, you're right, Crystal. I'm going to start calling you. And she still doesn't do it very well, but she has
trying.
a couple of times, and she's texting things to me,
Oh, that's
because she
good,
texts
yeah.
things to her sister.
Because texting counts.
Yeah, it does. You're reaching out to somebody, letting them know you're thinking about them, and that's the main thing. But yeah, I was really perplexed with this. I didn't know how to come back with this. And I was trying to paraphrase it back to her, like, okay, how would I have known that or whatever? And then she just kept putting me down with, well, you could have, you could have texted, at least texted and asked how I was doing. You could have done this, that, and the other thing.
And that's another thing that we had talked about with needy people is that a lot of times they'll have children because they want that person
Love it.
to validate them.
I know.
And then it never works out because, kids, they get that independent stage and they, get away from me.
I don't
Ew.
like you anymore.
Yeah,
I hate you.
And I think to myself sometimes, I think it's a good thing I wasn't a mom because I think that would have broke my heart.
Yeah, and I'm not saying every kid does that, but there are 9 times out of 10, I would say,
yeah.
if you have one that just adores you, into their 20s, more power to you.
Well, and sometimes they'll, it is a phase. So sometimes they'll go through that. There's those kids,
Yeah.
You always hear the story, oh, drop me off around the corner, Mom. I don't want to be
I don't want to
seen
see
with you.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
But then when they grow up, then they redevelop that value system, value.
Yep, they do. They get it. They get it. But still, they can become very bitter and hate you, and partially because you were clutching so tightly. That's an issue too. That's something that the needier people tend to do. And I was sitting there one day going, why are these people so needy?
Yeah.
And it's a self-esteem issue, and it's a control issue. They have to control. They have self-esteem issues, and they'll tell you. A lot of them will tell you, "I have low self-esteem."
Well, it's weird too because I had low self-esteem, but I never treated people like that.
Yeah,
I was more like begging for crumbs at the table of their friendship.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that
which
like-
is
ooh,
sad.
That's poetic.
Yes. Oh, write that down. Yeah. No, remember that one. Yeah, it's.
But yeah, Crystal and I have a good relationship and a good friendship because we have good communication, mutual respect, and we genuinely care about each other.
Yeah, we do, and we don't call each other all the time.
No. In fact, how many years passed before we got back together?
We actually, she had changed her phone number and thought she gave it to me.
Yeah, and I never had.
And I tried to email, but I didn't go all out. I thought, oh my gosh, something must have happened, and I don't know what it is. And it was about 5-6 years. And then we saw each other and we picked up like nothing had ever changed. Nothing had happened. So that's my relationship with a couple of the gals in Minnesota is, oh, Crystal, I mean, they haven't talked to me for 10 years. They don't care. It's fine. It's just pick up where you left off and fill you in on all the new stuff that's happened. And that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I do not understand where I missed being a caretaker for everyone. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm everybody's caretaker. No, I'm not.
well,
That's not my job.
I think that's partly because of the narcissistic mom
Yeah,
that put
yeah.
you in charge of
And I
the
was.
boys.
I was in charge of everything, and I was the one that took care of everybody, and I could anticipate what they needed before they knew.
So then you get that aura about you. Like
You
I
do.
think that's why I had so much trouble with my relationships with men because I had that aura about me of being like this sniveling little slave person.
Yeah, that's
And-
exactly it. But again, it's just like I said when we were talking about the 32 jobs in 20 years. And it's because I relate to narcissists very quickly. I'm familiar with it,
Yeah.
comfortable with it. They read it on me that I am, I can be used and abused and it won't matter.
But it does matter now.
It does because I know the difference. It's still on me, but what comes out is different and they hate it. They absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And
That's-
they fire me, because you're just not, you're not. This is not going to
You're not
work.
doing
this is
what
not
we
going to
want.
work. Yeah, and so they can't even really give me a good reason, and I think it's all because I'm willing to say no. I'm willing to have boundaries. I'm willing to be very kind about it. I don't have any problems being nice about it, but they do. They do because they're narcissists.
So learn from this, and if you're
Please.
younger, put up those boundaries now.
Yeah, and a lot of people do come from really good at home backgrounds. I don't know any of them, but there are people. I do. I met
I've read
one.
about them.
I met one. I worked for a woman who was a psychotherapist, and I talked to her about it once, and she said, Crystal, she said, I did grow up in a perfect home. She said, there were 4 girls, and our parents wanted us to be whatever we wanted to be.
Oh, that's nice.
And they lived in the country, and it was beautiful with trees and lakes and rivers and animals and all these fun things. And it was an idyllic, and she said, I will have to say, yes, I had an idyllic life. And so they're out there somewhere, and they have really good boundaries because they were taught that they were fine just the way they were. They didn't need to look a different way or be a different way or act a different way. So if somebody's trying to impose any of those things on you, think again, because, where is the idyllic lifestyle that you could have had?
And you really do need to take
Take
care of yourself because nobody else will.
Bye for now.